Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Making of a Moor Woman channel, brought to you by Moor Society Incorporated. I'm Christopher McGee. This particular recording is its purpose is to address young adolescent and young adult women and their quest for relationships. You seeking out companionship. You might have questions about the character, the manner of a man you should pursue, how your gentleman caller might behave. Now, the Moor Society is a nonprofit entity dedicated to the cultural and ethnic education of our people. It's about Negro social studies and the refinement of the Black American culture. Now, so there's the spiritual world, and then there's the material world. Where in the material world, your focus is social polities and people's politics, uh, maybe their religious beliefs. You get off into their professions and careers and such. And more or too often, people actually define themselves by their profession, by their uh, trade, by their politics. But this is about those things life affirming. So this is not about what you would look for in a man in a worldly sense. This is more about spirituality, about the life of a man, about how he um, approaches his life journey, the greater responsibilities he have from his obligations to God to his responsibility to himself and his family and his extended family and community as such. Um, Now, when we talk about a man, a good man, we're talking about a man who lives committed to doing well. That is good versus evil, right versus wrong, truth versus falsehood. A good man is a man who's going to be committed to being good, doing what's right, and walking in the light of truth, being the best he can be, a whole human being, a good man, and a unique and specific individual. When you talk about those things characteristic for a good man who lives to bring about the fruition of God's will, to stand up against those things that are wrong, and to take full responsibility for his life and the world around him. This man will carry himself in a way that is very specific. Mhm. And what we're talking about here is a good man lives every day at war with, but it's not a war of flesh and blood. It's not a war of dollars and cents. It's a war of principalities, a war against wickedness, spiritual wickedness in high places. It's a war against dark powers, dark forces. A man who's responsible for living right. It's not enough that he have a close and personal relationship with God, with his creator, but he has to know the evils, the bad things in the world, the devil. Now, again, this is not meant to be a religious instruction as much as it is culture. But as you can imagine, when you're dealing with spirituality, when you're dealing with a man or woman in pursuit of spiritual enlightenment, self-actualization, then, well, your faith, your love, your soul salvation becomes a very big part, not just of your belief systems, but how you live. Now, When you speak of a good man, you're speaking of a soldier, a man of honor and integrity, always ready to fight the good fight and stand up for what's right. And for that, he needs an armor. This was inspired by Ephesians chapter 6, verses 11 through 18. We're talking about a man living every day, putting on the whole armor of love, the whole armor of our creation. That there are 7 parts, primary parts to armor. In the tradition of great soldiers throughout history, there's a helmet meant to protect the head and the salvation of the mind. That is, there's shoulder plates meant to help carry the weight that one has on their shoulders. There's a breastplate or body armor, which represents, which is in all the righteousness. There's the belt at his waist. There's a belt of truth. There's his shoes, which represent his daily movement in terms of his efforts to advance in love and compassion, living every day to be a living example of what a good man, a responsible person is to be. Then there is the shield, which is a shield of faith, and then the sword, which is the word of His Majesty's Spirit and the word of God. Now, the helmet protects his mind from loss and ruins. So his mind, his thinking is always about salvation, the preservation of innocence and good. And and he wears that helmet of salvation against all loss, mental loss and ruin. The shoulder plates of support. The shoulder plates are like, you see the shoulder pads like on a football player. Shoulder pads are meant to protect the shoulders when making contact with great weight. And when a great man lives as a governor or a king, and one might say he carries the weight of a kingdom of his shoulder. And these shoulder plates are meant to help him carry that weight. So a righteous man is a man who's going to carry himself, living every day with a shoulder plate of wisdom. A shoulder plate of wisdom. When he shoulders the responsibility of his community, of his family, he does in the tradition of King Solomon, being a seeker of wisdom. Then you see the body armor or the breastplate, designed to protect the heart and vital organs from the evil attacks of arrows and knives and thorns. The breastplate of righteousness, to be right and to stand and fight for righteousness, and to safeguard your heart with righteousness. A good man will always safeguard his heart with righteousness, not vengeance, not hatred, not vendettas, not gangster thug life. Such savagery is beneath a good man. And that's something what you as a young woman should know, that a man's mind, a good man, is going to have a pure heart. His mind is going to lead towards salvation. On his shoulders, he will carry wisdom, and what safeguards his heart will be righteousness. Then there is the belt at his waist. Now, the belt is designed to help maintain abdominal pressure, to stabilize the spine during heavy lifting. If you've ever seen a person lifting weights, they wear a special belt to help give them the support, so that when they lift, they can keep their lower back and their spine straight and stabilized. And this keeps them from doing damage to their lower back. Girth. The loins are protected at girth by a belt of truth. What supports your pressure, your support comes from stabilizing your lower back, your spine. The truth. This belt represents the truth, the light of God's truth that gives us direction and instruction, the purity of that truth. Then you have the shoes, the feet prepared to serve and move. Step by step, a good man is going to move with love and compassion. And with every daily step, he just wants to be a walking, talking, living example of how one treats another, treating people the way he wants to be treated, leading by example, be they a man or a woman, man or woman, feet showed and prepared to walk in the light. When you talk about the shield, the shield is a protector, it's both armor and weapon. Your shield, a man's shield, is represented in his faith. And his faith is both armor that protects him, but it's also a weapon he uses to fight. A man fights by faith. He fights for his faith. Understanding the values of a man, understanding the importance of salvation, wisdom, righteousness, truth, love, and compassion, and the commitment to living by example, showing people the type of person he is by treating people the way he wants to be treated. The importance of faith, and last but not least, his sword, that tool that represents his primary weapon, is the word of God. Be that the Mahid of Muhammad, the Holy Quran, whether you're talking about the teachings of Moses and the Torah, or the Gospel of Christ, whether you're talking about modern religion and teachings or ancient African tradition. A man's sword is of the Spirit and the Word of God. Understanding these 7 pieces of body armor, these proverbial pieces and what they represent, is essential when you begin to pursue men of quality, when a man pursues a woman of quality. Now, because this is for the making of a Moor woman, and this platform is specifically for the education of young women and prepping them for their life journey, we focus on the woman's perspective, but this is both man and woman for a man or woman. If they are true, if they are good, if they are righteous, that woman, she too, will carry herself, living every day, putting on the whole armor of love. Shija, a man, both man and woman, making the most of that helmet of salvation, the shoulder plates of wisdom, the breastplate of righteousness, the belt of truth, and feet prepared for love and compassion and a commitment for doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, the shield of faith, and the wisdom of God is your weapon. These are the characteristics, the manner, the behavior, the ideas and views of a righteous man or woman. And when you young women are out there and you're dating different guys and having a good time, you need to know the difference between getting involved with a guy for fun and games and entertainment and dating and going back and forth, but and choosing a companion for life. When you're out there having a good time, you're partying and whatever, that's one thing. But when you get to a stage in your life when it's about real life and real things, the type of person you choose to with whom to build your life, to be the father of your children, someone who you will look to care for you in your time of need. When you engage this man and you put your life in his hands, ask him to put his life in your hand, you need to know that the person with whom you are, that you're to share your life, understands and lives every day, putting on the whole armor, love and living responsibly. Yeah. This has been a recording for the making of a Moor woman, brought to you by Moor Society Incorporated. If you found anything in this recording useful, insightful, thought provoking, then please mark the button, like, and subscribe to this channel. There'll be more recordings coming soon. And remember, the purpose of these recordings are to introduce you to the educational platform for the educational institution the Moor Society is developing for the sake of enriching the lives of African Americans and developing a more refined African American culture. Um, this is just meant to scratch the surface and kind of get you thinking in terms of who we are, what we are, and what we stand for. There's also channels, The Making of a Moor Marriage and Family, channels, The Making of a Moor Man, and then our primary channel, the Moor Society Incorporated. Each of these has a lot of information that will help you broaden your insight and perspective on the institution we've created and what we are working to achieve. Thank you for your time.